Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into something that shapes pretty much everything we do, our habits. Think of them as the invisible architecture of your life. We're going to break down exactly how they work and give you a real practical blueprint for building good ones that actually stick around.
But first, let me ask you something. Think about your day so far. From the moment you woke up to right now, what's the one force that's been running the show in the background, making tons of your decisions for you, all without you really even noticing?
And the answer is habits. Believe it or not, a study back in 2006 discovered that a whopping 45% of our daily actions are basically just habits playing out on autopilot. That is nearly half of your day, every single day, being run by these pre-programmed scripts. You can see why understanding this is an absolute game changer. So let's get into it.
Right, so if you want to build good habits, or let's be real, break some bad ones, you first have to understand the code that's running them in your brain. It's this fundamental blueprint that we all follow, whether we know it or not.
So the first big aha moment in understanding all this came from author Charles Duhigg. He laid out this super simple but really powerful three-step cycle. It all starts with a cue, that's the trigger. That leads to a routine, the action itself, and it ends with a reward, which basically tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's remember to do that again.
But then, author James Clear came along and added a crucial fourth piece to the puzzle, one that was kind of hiding in plain sight: the craving. See, he argued the cue doesn't just launch you into the routine. First, it triggers a craving for the reward. And that craving, that's the real engine driving the whole thing.
Okay, so let's break this down. The cue is basically any little piece of info that predicts a reward is on its way. It could be a time of day, like your alarm clock. It could be a place, an emotion you're feeling, or even just finishing another action. It's the starting gun that kicks the whole loop off.
Now, the craving, we have to talk about this because this is the secret sauce. You don't actually crave the act of making coffee. What you crave is that feeling of being awake and alert that the coffee gives you. The craving is never about the action itself. It's about the change in state you're hoping to get. It's the why behind the what.
Next up is the response, which is what Duhigg called the routine. This is the habit you actually do. It could be a physical thing, like putting on your running shoes, or it could just be a thought, like that automatic flash of worry you get about a deadline. It's the part we tend to focus on, but you can see now it's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
And finally, we have the reward. This is the grand finale that closes the loop. It has two jobs. One, it satisfies that craving you had. And two, it teaches your brain that this whole loop is worth remembering for the future. The more satisfying that reward is, the more likely your brain is to automate the whole process.
Okay, so now we have the blueprint. We know the 4 stages. But how do we actually use this stuff to build a new habit? Well, this is where we move from the theory to a practical toolkit with what are called the 4 laws of behavior change.
Law number 1 is all about that first step, the cue. The idea is simple. If you want to start a new habit, the trigger for it needs to be so obvious that you can't possibly miss it. You want to take all the guesswork out of it.
And how do you do that? Well, 2 super easy ways. First, design your environment. Want to run in the morning? Put your running shoes right by the door where you'll trip over them. Second, you can use a clever trick called habit stacking. You just link your new habit to one you already do, so the old habit becomes the cue for the new one. All right, law number 2 is all about engineering that craving. Remember, we're driven by the anticipation of a reward. So our job here is to make that feeling of anticipation as strong and appealing as possible.
And this isn't about making the habit fun, it's about making it meaningful. Tie the action to a goal you really truly care about. But even better, tie it to the kind of person you want to be. You're not just going for a run, you are becoming a runner. Every time you do the habit, you're basically casting a vote for that new identity.
Moving on to law number 3, which targets the response. Let's be honest, this is where most of us give up. And the biggest reason habits fail is friction. It's just too hard to get started. We are hardwired to take the path of least resistance, so we need to make our new habit the easiest path to take.
So, your mission is to reduce friction wherever you can. And you can do this with the incredible 2-minute rule. Just scale down your new habit until it takes less than 2 minutes. Read every day becomes read one page. Go to the gym becomes put on my workout clothes. The point isn't to get results right away. The point is to make starting completely effortless. And that brings us to our final law, which closes the loop with the reward. Here's the thing about our brains. They didn't evolve for long-term benefits. They're wired for instant gratification. So for a habit to stick, the reward has to feel good right now.
You need a little immediate win, and a habit tracker is a perfect example of this. You know that little feeling of satisfaction you get from checking off a box? That's not just a feeling. That's a tiny hit of dopamine telling your brain, yes, do that again. It's a small win that keeps you going until the big, long-term rewards finally show up.
Okay, but even if you design the perfect system, life is going to happen. Your motivation will fade. Obstacles will pop up out of nowhere. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to have a plan for when things inevitably go off track.
And for that, there's this fantastic little framework developed by a psychologist named Gabriella Oettingen. It's called WOOP. It sounds kind of funny, I know, but it is brilliant. It stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. It basically pairs up your positive dreams with a realistic look at what might get in the way.
Now, the real magic is in that last step, the plan. You create what's called an if-then plan. If this obstacle happens, then I will do this. You're giving your brain a pre-written script to run. So when you get home from work and feel exhausted, you don't have to think. Your brain just pulls up the file. Ah, yes, the plan is to put on my gym clothes and stretch.
And all of this leads us to the final, and maybe the most important idea of all. It's a huge mindset shift. It's about stopping our reliance on willpower and instead focusing all our energy on building a better system.
You know, for a long time, we thought of willpower as this muscle that gets tired, a theory called ego depletion. But guess what? A lot of recent science has found that idea is pretty shaky. And what that means for us is that designing a good system is even more important than we thought, because a good system works even when you're tired or unmotivated or distracted. Willpower, on the other hand, almost never does.
So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. By using these 4 laws to design a system that works for you, you make success the path of least resistance. So the only question left is, what's the one system you're going to start designing today?